You probably don't realize how much a woman is actually assessing you in something as simple as a hug. One hug, one moment of closeness, one brief physical connection that most men treat like nothing. But here's the truth: most men never understand. In that short contact, a woman is subconsciously deciding how she feels about you, whether she feels relaxed around you, whether there's trust, whether there's attraction, and even whether she wants more of your presence. And the strange part is, she won't admit any of it. On the surface, it's just a hug. But underneath, something far more psychological is happening. Every hug is a silent exchange, a wordless communication between two bodies. And in those few seconds, she's picking up on everything: your confidence, your emotional steadiness, your masculine presence, and how comfortable you are with closeness. Most men completely waste this moment. They either hug too stiffly, like they're unsure what to do, or they go the other direction and overdo it: too tight, too long, too intense. Both create the same impression: discomfort, uncertainty, or emotional neediness. But when you understand what a woman is actually responding to in that moment, everything shifts. One of the most powerful things is what can be called the anchor touch. Most men give a very surface level hug, quick contact, a light pat, and then they pull away. It feels polite, but forgettable. A more impactful approach is different. When you pull her in, placing one steady hand on her upper back, right between the shoulder area, changes the entire emotional tone of the interaction. It's not about being forceful or invasive, it's about grounded presence. That area of the upper back is where people naturally carry tension. When your hand is steady there, it sends a nonverbal message of stability and protection. She doesn't consciously analyze it, but her body reacts to it. In that moment, her nervous system registers something simple: safety, calmness, support. From a deeper psychological standpoint, this connects to very old, instinctive wiring. People are naturally drawn to signals of stability and protection, and physical touch in that area can trigger a subtle sense of comfort and grounding. That's why she may suddenly feel more at ease, more present, even slightly drawn in without knowing why. She might just think the hug feels different, or that your presence is unusually calming, but she won't be able to logically explain it. Another important factor is duration. Most people end hugs too quickly. It becomes a reflex: touch and release, no real presence. But when you extend the moment just slightly beyond what's expected, something changes in how it's experienced. Not dramatically, not awkwardly, just a small pause before letting go. That small extension creates awareness. She notices it, not always consciously, but emotionally. First, there's recognition. He's still here. Then curiosity follows. Does he feel something in this moment? And then a subtle emotional response appears: warmth, awareness, and a sense of connection that wasn't there in a rushed interaction. This isn't about control or manipulation. It's about comfort in closeness. When a man is relaxed in physical proximity and doesn't rush away from intimacy, it signals emotional steadiness. And that steadiness is attractive in a quiet, unspoken way. What kills this effect is nervous energy. When a man rushes the hug, pulls away quickly, or seems unsure of himself, that tension is transferred directly. And instead of feeling grounded, the interaction feels disconnected. But when you're calm enough to stay present for just a moment longer, it communicates something different. I'm not uncomfortable here. I don't need to escape this moment. And that kind of presence tends to stay in her mind longer than the interaction itself. Another subtle but powerful element is breathing. During the hug, a slow, relaxed exhale makes a difference. It signals that you are not tense or anxious in that moment. It shows that you are physically and emotionally settled. Women are extremely sensitive to tension. They pick up on breath patterns, muscle tightness, and subtle shifts in body language. If you're holding your breath or feeling internally rushed, it leaks out in ways you don't notice. But she does. When your body is calm, your breath steady, and your presence grounded, it creates an unspoken sense of stability. And that stability is what makes the interaction feel safe, natural, and memorable. At the core of all of this, it's not about tricks or techniques. It's about presence. Because a hug is never just a hug when there is real awareness behind it. But when you breathe slowly and deeply, and your chest rises and falls in a steady, unhurried rhythm, she doesn't just register it on the surface, she feels it on a deeper level. That kind of controlled, calm breathing subtly influences the atmosphere between you. It creates a sense of ease that her body responds to automatically without her needing to think about it. This is where the idea of nervous system co-regulation becomes important. Human beings don't just communicate through words or actions, they constantly pick up on each other's internal state. When you are calm, it becomes easier for the other person to settle into calmness too. When you are grounded and steady, they naturally begin to feel more anchored in your presence. And when you are fully present in the moment, they stop overthinking and start experiencing the interaction as it is, instead of analyzing it in their head. This is also why some women describe certain men in a very specific, almost identical way. They might say, "I feel calm when I'm around him," or "I don't know what it is, but I feel safe with him," or even, "Everything just feels okay when he's there." These reactions don't come from something spoken or performed. They come from something far more subtle: your internal emotional state, your breathing pattern, your posture, and the way you exist in silence without tension. A slow, controlled exhale during a hug is one of the clearest examples of this. It sends a nonverbal signal that you are not anxious, not rushing, not trying to prove anything, and not seeking validation in that moment. Instead, you are simply present, comfortable in yourself, still, unforced. That absence of pressure is something the body recognizes immediately, and this is where most people miss the deeper layer. When a woman relaxes in your presence, especially during close physical proximity like a hug, that relaxation is not just physical, it becomes emotional. Relaxation creates safety. Safety creates trust. And trust is what allows emotional connection to develop in a natural and effortless way. Once that emotional connection begins to form, attraction doesn't need to be pushed or manufactured. It starts to arise on its own, not because of anything artificial, but because she feels secure enough to let her guard down and simply be in the moment with you. Now, this leads into a more subtle but emotionally impactful element: the cheek graze effect. This is something very small, but it can leave a lasting impression when it happens naturally. During a hug, if your head gently turns in a way that allows a soft, brief contact between your cheek and hers, it introduces a different level of closeness. It's not forced, not exaggerated, and not meant to be obvious. It's just a quiet moment of physical proximity that feels slightly more intimate than a standard hug. The reason this matters is because facial contact carries a different psychological weight than other forms of touch. The face is associated with identity, emotion, familiarity, and vulnerability. It's one of the most personal areas of the body. So even a light, almost accidental feeling touch in that area can register as something more meaningful than ordinary physical interaction. Even if she doesn't consciously analyze it in the moment, her mind often processes it afterward. Small details like that tend to replay in memory. She might find herself thinking about it later, questioning why that moment felt slightly different or why it stood out compared to other interactions. And once a moment starts to replay in someone's mind, curiosity naturally begins to build. That curiosity doesn't create instant change, but it does shift perception in a subtle way. She may start to see you with slightly more awareness, paying attention to details she previously overlooked, or becoming more conscious of your presence in future interactions. It's important to understand that none of this is about forcing reactions or trying to control outcomes. It's about being aware of how human beings naturally respond to presence, energy, and subtle physical communication. Most moments in life feel forgettable because they are rushed, automatic, and emotionally flat. But when presence is added to physical interaction, even something as simple as a hug stops being routine and becomes meaningful. The quality of the moment changes without any words being spoken. When all of these elements come together, the slow and steady breathing, the grounded emotional state, the calm physical presence, the slightly longer moment of stillness, and the subtle intimacy of natural closeness, the experience transforms completely. It no longer feels like a quick social gesture. It becomes something emotionally noticeable, something that leaves a trace. To bring it together simply, you approach without hesitation, you remain relaxed in your body, you stay present in the moment without rushing to escape it, you breathe in a calm and steady rhythm, and you allow the interaction to unfold naturally instead of forcing it into a mechanical pattern. When this is done correctly, she doesn't walk away analyzing what technically happened. She just feels different, more at ease, more aware, slightly more drawn in without fully understanding why. And that is where presence becomes powerful. Not because of tricks or techniques, but because of emotional stability. People don't remember perfection. They remember how they felt in your presence. In the end, most interactions disappear from memory because they feel ordinary and emotionally neutral. But when someone experiences calmness, steadiness, and grounded presence in another person, even a simple hug can become something that stays with them far longer than expected.